Shop Talk is filmed at 1009 Kingston Road in Toronto.
So what would we say is the difference between an addiction and a habit?
I would say that the difference between an addiction and a habit, an addiction you have no control over. A habit is something that you're just used to doing. A habit can turn into an addiction. An addiction can become crippling. But if you just have a habit, you can break that cycle very quickly and very easily, just through somebody bringing that to light for you. But once that habit becomes an addiction, then it becomes something that is manifested in a totally different way. It's something that's now physiological. It's something that becomes biological, and that addiction is something that you have difficulties tearing away from.
I don't think I can explain any clearer than that. But I feel the same way. Obviously, it makes
Bad
sense.
habits,
And
addictions.
as Sean was talking, I was trying to figure out, okay, addiction and habit. It's almost one
like
and
a
the
bad
same.
habit.
It's almost one and the same. Because, but it's not.
It's not one and the same. It's not one and the same. A habit is something that I'm used to hanging out with you, and I'm used to burning a spliff. Right. That's a habit.
Okay,
Me and
well,
you,
interesting.
When
Okay.
me and you link, we burn a spliff, and that's a habit.
Yeah,
I have a
cigarette
habit.
smoking. That's
No,
a habit.
That's an addiction.
I'm sorry. I would say, at least I'm speaking for
know.
myself. For
I
myself,
mean, this is what you do for a living. Like I said, I can't really.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with what you're saying, or disagreeing with what you're saying, I should say. But for, like I said, cigarette habit or addiction? I say more habit.
So the cigarette habit will be a habit. So you think that you have a habit.
Tell me.
Hold on.
Cigarette is very much an addiction. You're only not referring it to as an addiction because it's not a drug.
No,
Okay,
but
let me explain
There
why
are
I
drugs
say.
in it, though.
Let me say why I say it's more of a habit, from my experience. Okay.
Okay.
Because
I'll let you talk.
because when you smoke cigarettes, you start attaching things to it. For instance, like drinking.
Yes.
So you drink, you figure a cigarette's gonna taste good with a cigarette.
Coffee, you have a cigarette.
You figure a cigarette's gonna taste good with your coffee.
After you have snacks,
After you
have
eat,
a cigarette.
you want to smoke a cigarette because you feel like it's the best time to have a cigarette. Although it's not necessarily true. Obviously,
now-
it's not true.
But now what I'm saying though is that all that is true. And it is a habit if you talk about it like that, or if you think about it like that. But now when you decide to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to stop smoking cigarettes. I'm going to stop smoking cigarettes. And then you start to realize that, hold on, I have a craving for a cigarette, man. I have a craving, so I'm having a juice with my Reg, and I have a craving for a cigarette. And then now it turns into, maybe it's not so much of a habit. Now it's kind of like, I need to have that because the habit, the habitual routine of all that kind
So
of
they
thing
must be-
has now turned into something where it's like, it's something that I can't get out of my head.
See, I'm glad you said that.
I can't get it out of my head.
Because,
so now,
like you said, it's something that you're telling yourself.
yes,
It's
and
not
you
gonna
can't
kill you.
escape, you can't escape from it.
Unlike, I'm gonna say, unlike like a drug like heroin or crack, where you feel like you can't function without this. You can't. Heroin, you'll never get off of heroin. That to me, that's like
I've heard though
that's a
that
true
quitting
addiction.
cigarettes is equivalent to kicking crack.
I
And
don't
there are
think so.
physical, but you have to be okay. So glad that we started here because
But everybody's
my
different.
stepmom.
though.
Everyone's different because there's people, if they don't have a cigarette all day, they start tripping out, they start tweaking,
This is
they
it.
they get migraines.
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
Coffee too.
Coffee.
Same thing with coffee.
So I'll say this about myself. I've been smoking for a long time. Peter, you quit smoking a number of years ago, and
Pete, I can't even picture you as a smoker. That's what's so interesting.
I championed you. I championed you when you
Again,
quit smoking.
Don't give me that much credit because really and truly, I wasn't addicted to smoking cigarettes.
No, but it was a habitual thing for you.
I did it when
was
I was
a
drinking.
Habitual thing it was a habitual thing for you. Now, for me, I've been smoking for a long time. When I'm at home with my family, I don't smoke. My kids don't even know that I smoke cigarettes.
Right.
When I'm at work, I go for smoke breaks. I work a very stressful job. I do this, right?
Are you addicted?
It's habitual for me.
Exactly.
I'm an habitual smoker.
So the line
Because
is
I
what?
can be-
The
I-
line is if you were doing it at home and your kids knew, then it would be an addiction?
No. The line is if I cannot be without that cigarette, be without that tobacco for that amount of time. Like, I mean, I'm saying to you that I can be at home, I can be away from work, I can be at work, I can not smoke for a week or 2 weeks, and I'm fine. I'm cool. But there are other people who are like, dude, I need a cigarette right now.
Yes.
And now we're talking about addiction. So we're talking about addiction for cigarettes. We're talking about addiction for drugs. Talking about addiction for alcohol. Talking about addiction to substance use on a plane. You know what I'm saying? What is habitual and what is addictive?
Right.
You were a habitual user of tobacco.
Right.
You were a habitual user of alcohol because you don't drink anymore. You know what I mean? You don't drink, you don't smoke cigarettes anymore, you're gravy, right?
So is addiction only prevalent if you can't stop?
Addiction is when you don't realize that you can't stop. You don't realize that you've gotten to that point where you just cannot. You don't even know. You don't even realize until it's removed from you or until it's taken away from you. And when it's taken away from you, then that's something totally different. You know what I mean?
Social environment.
Okay.
So it's a thin line between habit,
Between
between habit and addiction. Your habit can become an addiction.
Tomorrow I will be though.
You say that. Some people are. Is it an addiction to go to work or always
I would
work?
say I'm a workaholic. It's so funny that you would bring that up. I would
But-
definitely say it's not so much an addiction, but I can't just be still. I for sure can't be still without
That's what I'm
feeling
saying.
very
Right.
like inadequate
Right.
and like all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yes, I'm the same way, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that share the exact same feeling as you have. Because there's a guy that comes that lives around this area. He had a store across the street. He retired, and he's saying like he's bored out of his mind. He doesn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah.
Because he's so used to getting up
Yeah,
in
that's
routine.
no good, actually.
Routine, right?
Yeah.
But you're used to a routine. He's been doing that for, I don't even know how long. But he's had this store here for like 30 years. So I imagine he's probably been doing it for, I don't know, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
Like working, grinding away at whatever it is.
Yeah.
he's
So
doing.
there's no way.
And then you just stop?
I don't see how. So an interesting thing that came up. Are we saying that you can't be addicted to marijuana?
Addicted?
Can you be? No, let's talk about it.
Addicted to
Let's
no
talk about it.
drugs. I tell you, I'm not addicted to no drugs.
I have to smoke.
to marijuana. You cannot.
Says who? What
I
do
don't
you
know about
mean?
that.
What's the
Listen, man.
definition of addiction?
I don't know about that.
Hold on.
I don't understand.
Unless you're smoking some like mushed up herbs. I don't know. man.
No.
But if you're,
Okay,
like,
addiction.
really
We
high,
can't just say addiction is solely based on the content of what you're consuming.
That's right.
Addiction is the habit, right?
That's right.
And I think it has to do with age.
So then, can you be addicted to marijuana?
Okay, I want to hear this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
When I was in my 20s,
But
I used to smoke weed.
you can be addicted to marijuana, but if you don't get it, it's not gonna make you physically go out of your way. It's not gonna make you twitch. It's not gonna. It's a different. It's a different thing. It's more addiction to the habit of crushing it up. Addicted to the habit of rolling. Addicted to the habit of licking the paper.
Now, I don't know how
Addicted to the
often-
habit of shaking the spliff at the end.
A man like
you know what I mean?
doesn't have something to bun. I bet it's not often.
No, I
But
smoke
how
weed
does it-
every
okay,
day.
This is what I'm saying.
Every
Is
day.
there ever a time? Was there ever? When was the last time when maybe there wasn't any weed? Did you get like?
I was in jail.
Okay.
That's the only time I don't smoke weed.
As somebody
I always
who doesn't
smoke.
always have weed, when I don't, I become very focused on making sure I get it. It
But-
becomes the prime.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
That's an addiction.
Behave and conduct myself in such a way that I could be in front of my parents and talk to my parents. My parents would be looking me in my face when I was 17, and I was fine. Everything was great. So I was not addicted to herbs. I find it difficult to I understand what you're saying because you associated your button with doing certain things. You wake up,
well,
you butt a
couldn't-
spliff, and you have
I
breakfast.
didn't have an appetite without smoking.
I don't have an appetite without bunning.
Right.
So
That's what I'm saying. And like I said, when I realized I was addicted to it is when I couldn't smoke it anymore. When I was taken away and put away, and there was no smoking.
Yeah.
And that morning, I remember they served breakfast, and I tried to eat the breakfast, like trying to force the food down, and I threw up
wow.
because I was forcing myself to eat.
wow.
But I had to, though. You know what I mean? And then eventually, obviously, I didn't have cold sweats and all that.
Yeah.
But dreaming, like trying to fall asleep, your mouth, you're salivating, like it's so many different things that was happening.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
So yeah, I feel like I was addicted to weed, and you can't. And I think that also, I feel like it has a lot to do with age too. It depends on when you started smoking weed as well.
Why? When did you? What do you feel like? If you start younger, it's more.
The younger you start,
Yeah.
and not really having an understanding of what you're really doing. Like I started smoking weed to get high, and then it made me feel giddy, and then we joke around, and so then I kept smoking it to get high and to feel that same feeling I had the first time. And through that time now, I'm
Everybody
becoming
says that,
addicted
chasing
to
the
it.
high. Yeah.
Right, I'm chasing the high.
Yeah. I didn't get you in there, bub. The difference between a habit and an addiction.
I think a habit is because, you know, you can do it when you want and when you don't want. But an addiction is something that you have to do, whether you want to or not. You know what I mean? Like an addiction is more, it's not controlled. You know, an addiction like a drinking, like somebody goes to the liquor store first thing in the morning because they need a drink, because their body is asking for it. So I think habit is more like you go out with the boys on the Friday night and you get the drinks together and you party, but then Saturday comes, you're not drinking the next day, I guess. But an addiction is more like every day you need that substance or whatever it is, right?
I know a lot of people that have been on serious addictions, have beaten it, and have become successful people.
Okay. How did they get over it, or not get over it? How are they managing it? Did they seek professional help, or did they do it themselves?
Some people, it was different for all kinds of people, but mostly it was forced upon them. And then they were given the choice whether, okay, do I want to keep on doing this, or do I want to remain the way I am? And as when you're young and you're a kid, you don't really care about certain things, you know. But as you grow up and you become into a manhood and you start to recognize that you need to start taking care of yourself, you like after some time, you're like, yeah, you know, I don't even want to do that shit no more.
Two go hand in hand.
You're a counselor, so you've dealt with a ton of people with just addictions. What are some of the struggles? What are some of the negative sides that we see, like from people that can't control like their addictions?
That's a really broad thing to ask. It depends on where you come from. It depends on the depth of
The addiction.
the addiction of
The type of addiction.
Yeah, but you know, like that's a really serious question, man. Like there are a lot of people that get like mash up from their addiction. They allow it to overcome them and destroys their lives. It takes away their families, their friends, their everything, right? And I've seen it. Like I mean, I've been at the shelter that I work at for the past 20 years, and I've seen a lot of friends that I work with. I've seen a lot of friends that I grew up with come through my shelter.
Wow, what shelter are you at?
I work at Seton House.
Okay.
I've been at Seton House. It's the largest homeless men's shelter in Canada. And I've been there for 20 years. And I've seen friends of mine that I grew up with, that I was like intimate friends with, that have rolled through there. And whether they have a mental health issue, whether they have an addiction issue or substance use issue, whether they have been abused, these are all men that are showing up there, not because they want to be there, but because they have nowhere else to go.
Okay, so this is a question that I've always had.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. Why is there such a close connection with addiction and mental health? What's the first problem? Is the mental health breakdown a result of the addiction? Is the addiction a result of poor mental health? Like why are the two so linked? I mean,
Well,
constantly.
like I mean, the question you're asking can't be answered. Like I mean, whether or not you underwent or you were exposed to a lot of abuse growing up, and you're trying to cope from that mental anguish, and you are now using substances to cope, or whether or not you. It's like I mean, there's so many different things,
We're not
right?
all built the same. There's some people that can just quit at the drop of a dime, and there's some people that can't quit without rehab. That's just how, because we're not all built the same. Because some of us have a strong willpower, some of us have no willpower. That's
I
what
also
it comes
feel
down
like some
to.
of it is literally, I don't want to say supernatural. I will just say God. My mom, I don't remember how long she'd suffered from alcoholism, but like, there are things just as a kid that you remember. So like, she had a routine where she'd wake up every night for like a beer, and I'm talking in the morning, like 4, and like the sound of the can, like, is like a trigger for me. You know, so like stuff like that, like.
Right.
And I knew it was bad, but I didn't know, like, you don't know how to stop it. You don't even know how to address it. You don't know what to say. And this lady, I don't know, her mom, of course, very devout, Christian woman, praying for her, crying for her. We were all just brokenhearted. And this lady just one day just stopped drinking.
Just had enough. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Has anybody gone through anything like that? A close family member themselves? Defeating.
Yeah, I have.
I love you. I love you so much.
I drank almost daily, heavily, and then I just one day said, you know what, this is not working. It's not better in my life. So I had to step away, and I had to isolate myself from everything and everybody, and find myself again. And I did. And when I go to the rehab, or when you go to the AA meetings and stuff, and you actually see real people with real issues, you got to look at yourself and say, you know what, dude, you're not even half as bad. You're not even going through half of what they're going through. And so that gives you an eye-opener of life.
Do you remember?
I mean, I was on drugs too, right? Like, yeah. So cigarettes, I smoked cigarettes. I quit smoking cigarettes. Drinking,
Do you remember?
I have a little light smoking
were you
weed
different?
habit right now.
Were you different then? Like your
course,
attitude? Do you remember
of course.
treating people different?
Of course.
Yeah, my
kids,
mom was a jerk.
My
Yeah.
wife,
Yeah.
family members, friends. It was all about you, right? It's all about you, and it's all about you bringing people down while you're down. Trying to bring people in the same light that you're in, right? Because you don't want to be where they are. You want them to be where you are. You want them to be in misery, or you want them to be unhappy. You are, right? And when you see happiness and you're not happy, you're like, you got to get away from them. You know what I mean? You
So
wanna be your own-
was it making you happy? Were you happy with it at one point, and then it became
No,
like
never.
a not happy thing? Okay.
No, never happy. Just feeling out of mind, right? So when you're out of your mind, normal state, with the liquor, you always feel, and even if you're laughing and you're joking, inside you're not feeling, Some people drink. Yeah. That's all right. Good. Yes. But I've went through a lot, and I've come. Like you said, God. It was God only that was in my heart
I
that
love
saved
that.
me. Yeah, it was only God that got me over the hump. No sponsors, no meetings, no rehab. It was simply me sitting by myself, finding God back in myself, and saying that this life that you want to live is not working. And I changed, and I did it on my own, with no help.
So just final word. We had a pretty good discussion just in terms of even just breaking down the definition. I'm glad we dispelled the marijuana myth because
Yeah.
so many people walking around with a marijuana addiction saying they're not addicted.
Yeah, exactly.
So final word on addiction, and then we'll bring it back to the white supremacists.
Let's see, what can I say about addictions? I feel like, okay, you know what? You're going to be addicted to a lot of different things. The best thing you can probably do for yourself, be addicted to something healthy. Be addicted to working out. Be addicted to, find something else that gives you the same type of feeling, you know what I mean? I don't know, working out, playing basketball, I don't know, art, do art. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different things other things that you could find to be addicted to instead of the regular mundane drugs and alcohol. Like find something. You got to be more creative, especially now we're living in 2019. I think we need to be more creative with our addictions. This is Pete Cutter from Cut and Run. Thank you for watching another week of Chop Talk. Please subscribe.
I did it.